Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode number 4 of Modding with Pikamoo. And this episode we are going to be covering textures for items and blocks, how to create them, and how to implement them. So let's get started. So you'll first want to go into your search bar on whatever operating system you're using. I'm currently using Windows 8.1. Windows 7 you'll just use the normal Windows button, and we got to type in %. Or, oh, not that. %app data %, and hit that. And we go into our .minecraft folder, go down to versions, and select whatever version you want. Let's go with 1.8, just so we have all the textures. Normally, you could just go with 1.7.10, but why not use this? So we want to open this with either WinZip or WinRAR. I want to go into the assets folder, Minecraft, and textures folder. You want to extract that, and now you want to go into your normal development folder, go to source, main, Java, assets, tutorial mods, and make a new folder called textures. And in that folder you'll want to make 3 more folders, one for blocks, one for items, and one for armor, because we will need that later on, and we may as well make it so we don't have to worry about it later. So armor, and there we go. And let me move my mic a tiny bit. There we go. Alright, so now we have our textures folder. So now we can minimize that down, and let's create our texture. So I'm using Photoshop. You can use GIMP, you can use Paint.net. They're almost the same. So I'll open up Photoshop. Here we go. Taking little bits and bring it over to this monitor and open it up. Now I did make a custom setting, but there is a couple ways you can make textures. So if you create a new one, you want to make sure the background is transparent, and you need to set the dimensions. Now I have MC textures, which is 16 by 16. That is the default texture that normal Minecraft uses. If you want a slightly higher resolution one, you can do 64 by 64. For this tutorial though, I'm just going to be using a 16 by 16. Make sure it is completely transparent for the background, and click OK. And you of course want to zoom in, and that should be good. Now you kind of want to put that off to the side a bit and go into your textures folder that you got from your Minecraft folder. And you can always make the texture from scratch, but I'm going to use some of the standard ones in Minecraft just to make the textures, so I don't have to waste more time than I need to. So we want apples. So if we copy the apple into our textures and make this full screen again, you can see it creates our apple. Now I want to make a compressed apple block, so I'm just going to make a bunch of these. Bring this over here and do this a bunch of times. There, you can of course just keep dragging other ones on, but I'm just going to move the layers individually because I can. So edit, transform, and scale. Let's move some over here and move one down here. And this of course won't be a very pretty block, but it will work for now. And just like this. Now there's actually another way you can do this, and I actually want to reverse the order these are in, so there we go. That looks a bit better. And let's stretch this one out just a tiny bit more. How's that look? Not quite how I want it. That's good enough for now. Now you want to make sure when you're doing textures to always look around the edges. For example, you can see here that there's a slightly empty block. That counts as a full, complete, colored in block. So for example, if you're having an item and there's like a light gray thing off to the side, it will render that on your texture and make it look ugly. So you want to make sure you keep everything cleaned up, nice and tidy. So now we have our apple block, which I'll actually show you how to do one more thing with. So if we get the normal texture or item, place it over, and let's zoom out with our zoom tool. So zoom out and get that layer again and transform it or scale it up, and we just take it nice and big, way bigger than we need. That looks about good, and we place it over. It will give a nice sheen to it, and you can of course do this with all the textures, and I'll just put the blending down a tiny bit, and there we go. Now for saving it, you want to save as, go to your folder, there it is, source, main, Java, assets, tutorial mod, textures, and this is a block, so I'll put it in the blocks folder, and you want to make sure you save it as a PNG file, otherwise it will not work, it will not show up in your game. Make sure it is a PNG file or else it will not work. And you want to give it whatever name, so I'm just going to make compressed apple block. And again, you want to make sure your textures are named so you can find them easily. And there we go. So now we have that. We can exit out of that, and I don't need to save this. So the next thing we want to make is our torch block. So again, this default, it is very much of a help to make a default template so you can easily make a 16 by 16 texture. And yeah, so open up our default Minecraft thing again. You want to go back to the textures, go to blocks, and find the torch. So let's see, where is it? There it is, torch on, and place that in your thing. And now we want to apply the texture, so I'm going to use the apple again because it's called an apple torch. Not sure why I named it that, but anyway, there we go, and apple. Now let's turn this just like so and create a clipping mask. There we go, and that is our torch. Now I never actually tried this before, so let's try it. Let's get our brush and set it to a white color, and we need to rasterize this, or actually it's this one, and shrink down our brush size, and let's make that like that. So you want to save, make sure it is once again a PNG file, and torches go into the blocks folder. They are not considered an item, they are considered a block. So we want to name that apple torch. There we go. And save it like that. And lastly, we want to make our stone item thing. So a new texture once again. Zoom in. And there we go. And let's find an item we would like to convert. Let's let's see, what should we make? Because we can, why not make a stone ingot? So here we have the normal iron ingot texture, and if we go into the blocks folder once again and grab the stone one, you can of course use the stone or search thing to find what you're looking for, but we can pretty easily find it, so there it is. You can of course use like the andesite, which looks like that, but I prefer the normal stone, so let's place this over. And for Photoshop you want to create a clipping mask. I'm not sure what it's called in the other ones, but that's pretty simple to find out if you tinker with it a bit. And let's blend it in, and there we go. So if we zoom out a bit, we have our stone ingot. So save as stone item, once again a PNG file. So select it on the list, and this goes in the items tab or folder, and make sure that's saved. And now we're ready to implement our textures. So you want to close out of that, open up your programming application. I did name the Apple Torch, so we don't have to worry about that, and we are ready to go. So in our blocks tab, we are going to set the textures. So what we got to do is click in here and type set block texture, parentheses. In there we got to do ref strings dot mod ID plus, then quotation marks, a colon, you gotta make sure that's in there, and then the name of the texture you want to apply. Make sure there are absolutely no capital letters in your texture name inside your code, because it will work in the development environment, but when you export your mods, it will not have any of the textures working. So we want to do compressed apple block. There we go. And yeah, there it is. Set block texture name. My bad. And let's copy this part right here and paste it onto the torch one, and we'll change the name to Apple Torch. I do want to save that. Now into our item class, and all we got to do is dot set item, come on, set texture name ref strings dot mod ID plus quotation marks and then a colon and stone item, and save. So now if we boot up Minecraft, our textures should be there. And as of yet, I have no idea how to do textures like for each side of the block. I may do a thing on them later, but for now I have no clue. So yeah. So here we have our Apple Torch, our stone item, and let me get our other one, our compressed apple block. So here we go, and this actually does emit light. Now the edge of this texture, because of the way I put the sheen thing on it, looks a bit odd, but we have our apple torches as well. And they of course have the normal flame. I actually kind of like how those torches look. Maybe I'll use them for something else later on, but yeah. So we have our blocks all textured now. You want to make sure everything is a .png file, and you want to make sure you have that colon in there, and make sure you have no capital letters in adding the file in your code. Otherwise it will not work. When you export it, it will work fine in the development environment, but again, it won't work when you export it. So be careful on that. And another thing I want to stress is if we look all around, the ingot looks completely fine, but if we had a partially colored in block on the outside, it would actually show up as a complete block and ruin the texture. But again, if you need to reload textures really quickly, all you gotta do is put F3 and T, and that will reload all your textures and the item names as well. So everything's named, everything's ready to go, and yeah, so there we have our stuff. So next episode, maybe on crafting recipes, probably something of that sort. And yeah, then I'm not sure in what order exactly all these tutorials will be. I'm kind of thinking of them as we go, but yeah, so I hope you learned how to do textures easily now. So yeah, if you liked the episode, give it a nice thumbs up, and let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. Of course, if you have any questions or any suggestions, leave them in the comments below, and I will try and get back to you on them. And yeah, I'll see you next time. So, this is Heller, signing out.